welcome to our community meeting this month for the International Society of NeuroSemantics. It's so nice to see everybody's faces who's here, and if you haven't yet turned on your camera, please feel free to turn it on because it's one of the purposes of us being here is to be together in community, and it's nice to, while we can be together, you know, in the virtual space when we're not together in face-to-face, it's nice to, or in person, it's nice to still be face-to-face with you. Today, we're going to be talking about the theme from our last meeting from the wisdom session on the hidden secrets of the APG. And I'd like to just welcome all of the institutes here. We're going to have lots of time in this session to get together in small groups, to connect with people from our institutes and from the larger neurosemantics community around the world. And so I'm really excited to facilitate this along with Marzuki. You want to say hi, Marzuki?
Hi, everyone. It's such a pleasure seeing all of you again. After 10 hours of training today, just got back here, and I'm relieved that I was able to open the door for everyone to come in. So welcome, everyone. It's such a pleasure seeing all of you.
And I guess I should just quickly introduce myself. If you don't know me, I'm Jason, and I'm the president currently of the Institute of Neurosemantics here in the USA. So I'm excited to get started now. I have a couple of slides here to share on the slide deck. We're going to do a quick recap of the session from our previous wisdom session, and then we'll have time to have you guys break out into groups and share with each other with the prompts that we have. So actually, before we get started, just to set some frames here, we've got 90 minutes for our meeting today. If you can, please set your microphone to mute when we're not in the breakout rooms so that we can stay focused on what's going on here together. If you have any questions throughout the presentation or throughout the session here, our community session, type the letter Q in a big capital Q beforehand so it can stand out from any of the rest of the chats. And we'll be taking pictures before the end, so stay around and we can mark our presence here together in this session here in 2022. So a quick recap to our wisdom session before. You know, we talked about, Michael presented the hidden secrets of the APG. And what we uncovered in that session is that there's a lot more to APG than you would expect at first glance. And if you've only sat through the APG one time or even two or three times, you still will have such a more rich layers and layers of understanding that we can take away from that program. Michael discussed the four themes, the hidden themes of APG, which are the themes of empowerment, where we replicate the stages of developmental psychology, the theme of healing, healing our thinking, our feeling, and our states. A theme of programming, so that we can program in that single-minded focus, and then the theme of ecology, so we can create wisdom and harmony and congruence within ourselves and within our participants. Let me make sure we're on the right slide here. You want to share this one, Marzuki, maybe present, or I can lead, I guess. So the first theme, just as a quick recap, is the theme of our core powers, the developmental stages. And Michael presented about the theme from the bottom up here, the theme of power. And so in the power zone pattern, we're working on becoming living inside out, separating our human being from our human doing and valuing our human being unconditionally. Working with the power of belief as a human meaning maker, and then working with the power of pleasure so that we can be ourselves as a human valuer and to bring a higher sense of joy to the things that we do in our life. So that was the first hidden theme that was covered in the last wisdom session. Anything to add to that, Michael?
Well, what happens inside of each of these patterns is a replication of what should have happened during developmental psychology. So if your parents were decent at parenting, then you would have come out of that having a sense of, I can do things, I'm somebody, I can create meaning, and I can believe in possibilities and things, and I know how to have fun. And that would have been developmentally the foundation for being an empowered person and feeling like the world is yours to enjoy.
Oh, wow.
A powerful theme, and something that's not maybe available at first glance when we go through the APG as a participant the first or second time. So the second theme that was presented is the theme of healing. And so if you look at the diagram that Michael built here, we have what we just discussed here, and now we're working on healing mistakes in the meta place. So healing our emotions. So rather than forbidding or tabooing them, to recognize them as derivative from our meanings. And not the absolute truth, healing mistakes in our ideas. So rather than being stuck in the frame, to have more flexibility in the meta place and the meanings that we give and ascribe to things and concepts. And then healing with our states. So rather than forms of self-attack, metastating ourselves negatively and non-constructively, to work on permission. Anything to add, Michael or Marzuki, on this slide here?
So out of childhood, as we enter into adulthood, there could be some significant mistakes in our psychology. And that is, we have a bad relationship to our emotions, the way we think, or the states that we get into. And so the next three patterns continue that process of replicating the developmental stages that we should have gone through. And if we didn't, then how to correct it. So this is the quote unquote therapeutic part of APG.
My takeaway on this is when we have the skill to heal ourselves, emotions, ideas, and states, and when we encounter events that trigger those emotions, we'll be able to catch ourselves and gently heal ourselves and bring ourselves back to be operating well. Without these skills, that's how people, they drop down into the pit and they get stuck in the process of grief that can go on for years and years. So my take on this is that, wow, we have a process to prevent ourselves from getting into that.
Yeah.
So the third theme was the theme of programming, the programming in the single-mindedness. And so these four patterns, the programming patterns, we have the mind to muscle pattern to program in our principles, the miracle pattern to think outside of the box and program in the differences that will make a difference, the intentionality pattern to take our higher values or higher intentions and to program them down into neurology so that we could live more intentionally rather than living attentionally. And then the genius state pattern, where we're with this theme of programming, making executive in our focus. Michael, anything to share on the theme of programming?
So this is really how we become fully adult, and how to use the executive functions in your brain, and how to choose principles to live by or values to live by, so you live a principled life. And the principled life has all kinds of possibilities if you know how to activate your imagination. And once you do that, then the big question is, can you set an intention? Instead of living by attentions, can you set an intention and let that intention become a purposeful way to live? And so living on purpose. And then, of course, with the genius state, making that executive decision, this I shall do, I'll turn it on and off so that I can be in that place of single-mindedness. And so these executive functions now, we metastate ourselves into it. And it really moves us beyond just being okay, which is for 7 patterns do to make us okay. Now we're actualizing our highest and best.
So that was our recap. We have the fourth theme, of course. Even it was hidden to me. Even the second time through these slides, it's still hidden to me, which is the theme of ecology for personal power. And so here we have the last three patterns within the APG program. We have the pattern for blowing out the excuses so that we can be ecological in our reasoning and not excuse ourselves using unresourceful reasons. We've got the spinning icons pattern for becoming more congruent and resolving internal conflicts, and then the meta-alignment conflict to create more alignment within all the layers of our metaverse, our matrix. Michael, what can you share with us about this one here?
So this is what I like to call the cleanup, because up until now, you may not be very wise in how you use all those powers. And so you may be making stupid excuses and not discerning between a real reason and an excuse. So that would be the excuse one, leading to wisdom and harmony and then congruency. And so this is a cleanup to where we're really focusing that genius state in the way that we want to.
And so, yeah, this is, I mean, even just hearing this time through, I'm just getting so many insights and into the richness of how powerful the patterns that we're doing in this program are. And so this was a quick review of the hidden secrets of the APG. Of course, if you haven't attended last time, I definitely recommend, even if you were there, go back through that last recording, because you know, we're just skimming the surface today, and even in that that presentation that Michael shared with us, there's just so much richness to unpack, to apply, to understand, to practice. And so, as Michael said, we're recapitulating the developmental stages, healing the errors of the meta place, setting up meta programs, the automatic programs. So through programming, our expertise and excellence, and then doing the cleanup at the end. So making sure it's all ecological. Any final words from Michael or Marzuki before we transition into the community conversations?
Well, I didn't know it at the time, but what has developed out of the APG is really the foundation for all of our coaches, meta coaches. It's really the foundation for therapy, which is why therapists and coaches sometimes will take even just one of these patterns and run it over and over and over with someone as part of their healing process or their empowerment process. And so going through it once is really insufficient. If you've only been through it once or twice, you have just put your toe in the ocean. And if you want to go swimming, there's depths that you have not explored yet.
Love the metaphor there, Michael. And so let's get the questions here. So Marzuki, you want to lead out with the first round of questions? I'll take the second one, perhaps.
Yes, thank you, Jason. So we are going to go into the breakout rooms for 20 minutes, and I will assign 4 to 5 people in each room so that you have an opportunity to interact and also time for you to share your learning. So the first question that you want to discuss is, which one of the 4 themes in APG surprised you or delighted you? Which theme fascinates you so you want to revisit that aspect of APG?
And then the second question we have here is that starting with that first theme of empowerment, we have the 4 core empowerment patterns: power zone, metastating self, meta yes, meta no belief change, and the pleasure pattern. And each of those develops an aspect of ourselves. So our human doing, our human being, our human meaning making, and our human valuing. And so the question that we want you to reflect on in the groups and have a conversation about is what have you learned about this theme and what questions do you have? So I recommend now taking a screenshot, if you can, of these questions. I'll also copy and paste them in the chat so that we can have them in the chat. Let me do that now. And so now I just shared them in the chat. Everybody should have access. Marzuki, do you want to do the breakout rooms?
Yes, I'll do that now.
And you guys will have about 20 minutes to discuss this, to explore, to share, to reflect, to connect. And after the discussion, we can come back here and we'll have some time as the larger group to come back together to unpack what you learned, what you realized, what you discovered, and what you shared.
Okay, everyone, are you ready? I'm opening all rooms, so see you in the rooms. 20 minutes.
Healings and programming. So these are the trees. And to react to the second questions about the 4 core empowerment patterns. So 4 of us, we have a kind of consensus that, okay, we appreciate the being state, but yet when we would like to explain this to our clients or trainees, even want to help them to be aware about the being state. So we feel stuck in a way. So it's about how we can really help the client to feel more being states. And some of the ideas coming out would be number 1, is the being. So we were comparing to a client who is more focusing on performance and doing. So to react to the questions, we were suggesting that number 1, so we can affecting the influence the persons by showing us that we are in the being state. For example, like showing our care to the clients, care about their feelings, being supportive, listens, be empathy to that person. So if the client have some judgment about, oh, my performance was sucks, I'm not achieving these targets. So what we going to do will be highlight to them, this is about self-judgment. You are judging about yourself, how well you are performing. But no matter how good is your performance, it's nothing to do with you yourself as a human being. So we are making a distinction in between as we have a conversation with the client itself. So that is basically about our summaries, and we hope to hear more. Okay, so what are the ways that we can really apply to ourselves to be more aware as a being person than keep focusing on doing so much of things. Thank you. So come back to you, Matsuki.
Yes, anyone else would like to go?
So one way to define anything is to define what is not. Sometimes it's really hard to define what something is, but you can more easily define what is not. So when we make the distinction self and doing, human being, human doing, just use the nots. Are you your thoughts? Or are you more than your thoughts? I am not my thoughts, I think. I am not my emotions, I emote. I am not my behaviors, I behave. I'm not my results, I get results. So by making that distinction, what you're not, you're more than and different from all of those characteristics. In fact, you can't name a characteristic that will define you. You're more than and different from those things. Now, if someone has that confusion, then say, oh, you're just a thought. That's all you are. That emotion you have, that's all you are. You're nothing more. And watch a person push it away. And that'll help them to know beingness differs from these functions.
Thank you, Michael. And Bruno, you would like to say something?
Yes, thank you. So in our group, the consensus was that it was a fresh perspective on looking at the patterns by having this grouping. And there was Karima and myself who were in NSTT recently, and we were saying we were amazed that while at NSTT, we didn't see that in this way. So it was a fresh way of looking at how the patterns fit in different themes. And I was saying, for me, for example, yes, when doing troubling emotions or concepts or dragons, we know that we are dealing with the past, we are dealing with healing, but stating it like that was like just like a realization. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Bruno. Anyone else? I have a question. Now, when we talk about self-esteem, frequently people talk about worth. So I esteem and because of my my worth. So how do we differentiate esteeming my worth as a being existing in the universe and my worth as bringing value to society?
You want me to answer that? So you've identified something that I think everybody should know about, and that is in the meta model, the extended meta model, we have multi-ordinal words. And so you're using the word worth, worth of self, worth of social self, worth of relational self, worth of athletic self, worth of, so take any facet of yourself and there's some value, some worth. And if you don't make distinctions, then it all gets confused. And then people have a way to feel really miserable. So my social worth is going to be quite different from my vocational worth. The more skills I have, the more worth value I can add. But my worth as a human being, if it's unconditional.
Wow. Thank you, Michael. So, anyone else? Anything that you want to share from your room?
If I may. Good day, everyone. In our groups, we had three conversations. The first one was about the distinction in the powers, internal and external, power to think, power to emote, and then the external powers. We also discussed about what happened when a pattern works for us, and then we try it on someone that doesn't work, or the person prevents or refrain from. And we kind of a battle of, it's done us so much good and we want to help people. And then the third point was maybe linked to what we just talked about. We're referring to the self-esteem pattern and how it gets us to a feeling of gratitude at some point in time, whether it's in front of something in the nature, whether it's in front of someone, doesn't matter, but that gratefulness of being there to experiment this. So that's from the group.
Thank you. So anyone else?
Okay, I have a question. Something that got my attention was what Bruno said, that I'm not aware of that there is an APG for business. And that piece is being taken away, the emotions piece, you know, the trouble emotions metastating. Is that right? Is that right? And if it's that, why is not into the business? I know there is some rules and regulations in the industry, but coming from the emotional intelligence approach, you know, I mean, why is being taken away from the APG in the business?
So maybe I'll let Michael give the rationale for change for APG for business, but it's not troubling emotions. It's still here. It's meta-stating concepts and dancing with dragons, which are the healing patterns which we are not presenting for corporates. So Michael, anything you'd like to add on that?
Right. So Bruno's right that the metastating emotions is still there, which does fit the EQ that a lot of businesses are open to. And we've taken out, as Bruno said, the two that deal more with therapeutic issues. And of course, the design is to introduce neurosemantics in businesses so that they get a taste of it and then they want to go further with further trainings.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
One of the things about business also is selling a 3-day training is really difficult for corporates. And so reducing it to 2 days makes it more feasible.
Okay. Thank you, Bruno and Michael. Thank you.
All right, so for the sake of time, let's move on to the next series of questions. We'll do another conversation in the rooms, and I'm just going to quickly share the screen so you guys can see the next round of questions here. And so if you'd like, feel free to take a screenshot of this. If you'd like to have these questions available in the group, I'm going to copy and paste them in the chat now.
So I'll read out the questions here while Jason is doing that. There are 3 healing patterns: healing emotions, ideas, concepts, and states, dragons. Have you ever used any of these patterns for your own personal healing? If so, what? The second question is, there are 4 programming patterns. Programming by stating from the top down some of your executive functions, principles, creative imagination, intentions, and executive decisions. What have you learned from this? How will this make a difference in your life? And the third question is, there are 3 ecology patterns for dealing with excuses, false reasoning, inner conflict, and incongruency. Are there any of these getting into your way from living your genius?
So perhaps Marzuki, as you break them into the groups, you know, I just want to share that one of the things that was valuable when we got into our group was just to take just a couple of seconds just to introduce yourself and what institute you're from. So, you know, part of the community sessions is for us to get to know each other better. And so if anyone in your room is from a different institute or you are, just briefly share your name and your institute, and maybe if you're a coach or a trainer or you know, just take 30 seconds, not too long on that, but just to start the conversation. It's a great thing for us to do, I believe. So I highly recommend doing that. And also feel free to take some notes while you're in there so that you have some, you know, I imagine in our group, at least, there was a lot of great conversation going on, good questions that were coming out. And so be sure to write them down on paper or in a chat here so that you can bring back those learnings here and we can collaboratively learn as a larger group from the way that we're collaboratively learning in the smaller groups. So I just wanted to set a couple of frames, and I look forward to meeting you guys back here after the next 20-minute round of conversation.
Yeah. So I'll send you to your rooms.
I feel like I'm being grounded. Thank you, Marcy.
See you guys later.
Thank you, Michael. Jason, there is no sound from your side, so we cannot hear you.
Thank you so much for the feedback. So I was just wondering, that reminds me of the ownership thing that Michael was talking about. One time we were in a meeting and I was talking to one of the NeuroSemantics students and I muted them and I said, I took away your power to speak. And they said, you didn't take away my power to speak, you took away my power to be heard. And so the power of mute. And so what else can you share? What did you learn in your groups? What questions did you have or insights did you gain that that would be valuable for the rest of us maybe to hear or to learn or to you know, get some more wisdom from Michael? We only have time for about 1 or 2 more this month in this session. We do this only once a month. And so you know, use your time wisely and we can all grow together. I know we had one from our group, Iqbal. You're muted, so please unmute yourself.
Sorry, thanks for that. I just want to hear from Michael the creative imagination. If you can just elaborate a little bit further how we can master that.
Can you repeat that, Jason? Because I didn't quite hear it.
I didn't quite hear it as well. Could you repeat it, Iqbal?
Hello, can you hear me? Yeah?
Yes.
Very, very low.
Yeah, your voice is weak.
Hello. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, it's okay.
What was the?
Thank you. Just one question. I will, if Michael can elaborate on that. The creative imagination, and how can we work on that?
The question is, how can we utilize the creative imagination, I believe is the question. So using the...
So in APG is the miracle question, which comes from Stephen DeChazer, which is a way to avoid trying to figure out the cause of a problem. Which implies you don't have to know the source of a problem or how you're stuck in order to solve it. You can skip over all of the explanations, causes, reasons, history, and just go to imagining life without the problem. So imagine the day after the miracle and whatever problem brought you here is gone. Describe that day. And so as a person now maps out differences between where they are now and where they would be, you're using your imagination. You're creating something that doesn't exist, but you're creating it in your mind. So you're making a map. And as you map that out, if it starts to feel really good, like this is the life I want, then you have just bypassed all the reasons and you found the solution. And that's really the magical power of imagination, the creative use of it with that particular pattern.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Michael.
It speaks to so many people that come to APG who are stuck, and part of the reason they're stuck is because they want to know why. Why am I this way? Why did this happen? And as long as they ask that question, they're just going to go round and round and round and stay stuck. What would be different if I wasn't stuck? Is the imagination question.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
I mean, I don't know if it's just me, but you know, every single time it just gets you know, these little distinctions, these little details about how rich and how powerful and how foundational the APG patterns are for ourselves and for the people that we talk to, communicate with personally and professionally. It's just it never ceases to amaze me. And so for the sake of time, we're just about at the end here. And so, you know, first of all, I just want to thank everybody, number one, for showing up. So thank you for showing up. Number two, thank you for participating and for meeting and sharing and learning and asking and connecting in the breakout rooms. You know, we are training ourselves in communication and to be how we communicate with ourselves, how we communicate with others. And, you know, we talk about transforming ourselves and others one conversation at a time. And so these conversations would not have been the same if you didn't show up. And so thank you so much. I know I've gained so much from the main room, but especially as well from the smaller groups. And so, you know, I hope this was valuable for you. Was this valuable for you? Did you learn something? Did you get another distinction that will improve your experience, your practice of neurosemantics out into your life? Did you meet anyone interesting from another country or another institute, and to be able to explore the richness of our community from around the world? I hope you did. I know I did as well. Before we go, we're going to do our group photo. And so for the group photo, what happened here? We got a whiteboard on the screen. Okay. Wow.
Jason, if you find that, Mohammed Tariq wanted me to remind everybody that if you want to do 4 days of APG, we're going to do 4 days of APG and go into a lot of depth about how to train it in Egypt, in Cairo, at the 1st of September.
Okay, so I'm going to put my own whiteboard and then remove it. I don't know who did that. Does anyone know how to remove the whiteboard? Maybe if I do this. Aha, oops. Uh-oh, stop sharing my screen. All right, we're back. And so what I'd like you to do, a couple of frames here for the photo. So everybody, if you haven't yet, turn on your camera, please. We'd love to see your smile and to kind of, you know, lock in this moment that we shared together that will never happen again in just this way. So turn on your camera. Please refrain from using the chat for the next couple of minutes while we do this, so that and put on your best meta smile. And who's going to be taking the photos? Is that going to be you, Marzuki? Can you do it? So hold your face, smile, and please hold off from the chat while you can.
3, 2, 1. Got that? And second screen. 3, 2, 1. Yes.
Beautiful. So final words, our next meeting is on September 10th, the wisdom session. So be sure to block that off in your calendar, Michael.
And the topic will be living personal genius, LPG.
Mm.
Oh, wow.
Mm.
Ooh, wow.
So be sure to save that date in your calendar. We'll send out some announcements, and I'm excited. All right, so that's all for today. Thank you again for showing up. Anything you'd like to close on, Michael? Would you like to close the meeting, or?
Just to remind everybody about Mohammed Tariq, we're going to do 4 days of APG in Egypt, and it'll also be recorded so people can join us online.
And
PCMC in Mexico.
Do you know where they could get the information? I guess you could email Michael or email Tarek and get the information to do that. It's a great opportunity to learn the APG directly from Michael in a virtual format and get access to the recordings, but also to be there live in community is another great opportunity. So definitely check that out.
I'll ask Mohammed to send a message to all the coaches and trainers about that.
Yeah. Beautiful. So I think the great thing to end on would be to unmute yourself and say goodbye, and just have everybody share and say goodbye in your native language or English. And we'll see you guys soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Ciao per todo mundo.
Bye.
Bye. Great to see all of you. Ciao, gente.
Lovely to see all of you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
And good night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, Della.
Bye, everybody.
Bye,
everyone.
Hi, Sean.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
It was nice to see you all.
Thanks,
Bye.
Jason. Thanks, Mazuki. Thanks, Michael.
Thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Michael.
everyone.
Thanks, Marzuki.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Geraldine.
Thank you,
Bye, everybody.
Marzuki. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Adrian, Henry.
Bye-bye. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Nice to meet you, Jihan and Karima.
So
Nice
good job,
to meet you, Geraldine.
Jason
Thank you
and
so much.
Marzuki.
It was nice to see you too. Greetings
you,
from
Judge.
Tunisia. Greetings from Tunisia. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey, Enric. Bye.
Bye, Enric. Bye, Bruno.
Thanks, Marzuki. Thanks.